On this episode of DC On Screen, we are continuing our reviews of the Tomorrowverse with Batman The Long Halloween Deluxe Edition, right after these words from our mysterious holiday killers. Welcome into DC On Screen, the podcast bringing you news and reviews of the DC multiverse on film and television since 2015. I am David C. Robertson. This is Jason Goss.
Hi.
So, we haven't been around for a minute, but as promised, we are back. We're discussing the animated feature Batman The Long Halloween, the Deluxe Edition, which, if you're not aware, was initially released in 2 parts, then later released as one nearly 3-hour cut. Good God.
Yeah, it just took us this long to watch the movie.
It did. It's an adaptation of the beloved maxi series / graphic novel of the same name by Jeph Loeb and the late Tim Sale. Can't recommend that book enough.
Yeah.
Go grab you a copy if you haven't already. It is completely a revered classic within the Batman canon. Its impact extends to modern Batman filmmakers like Christopher Nolan and Matt Reeves. They were both inspired by this winding mindfuck tale.
Yeah. I mean, many moments we can get into where clearly Nolan was inspired by parts of this, but this would be top 10 for anybody who was doing even like a cursory list, right?
Indeed.
You'd have to be a bit of a weirdo to not pick this as one of the like major Batman canon stories.
Yes.
It would just be, well, I say weirdo, but like I would like to see a list that doesn't include this because it's probably got some fun stuff to say, but like,
yeah,
if we're just talking like Batman canon, it would be rude to not include it.
Yeah, and there are stories that would probably notch higher for me. Batman Year One would be one of those.
Yeah, I mean, we're all gonna love, Dark Knight Returns or something like that. It'll compete in any grouping, I think. I said top 10 for a reason. Pick where you want it to be. It needs to be somewhere in there.
Yeah, and
I think for a lot of people, it's going to be top 5, maybe even top 3 for a good bit of people.
And when people have written into the show or asked me personally, which comics do you recommend? I would say, I usually always say, start with Year One.
Yeah. And
pick up The Long Halloween as number 2.
That's a really good bit.
Because Year 2 sucks. No, it's okay. It's okay. It's just not in the top 10.
Some of the sequels aren't. They're not quite as good. But yeah, like this one, yeah, it's seminal for a reason.
Yes, it was only a matter of time before they actually adapted it, and here we are. How you feeling, man?
I loved it.
You loved it?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, it takes a minute to watch. The only thing that has ever annoyed me about the storyline, one that, like, for me it's a top 10, but not a top 3 kind of thing, is I'm just never that big a fan of the crime family side of Gotham.
Yeah.
Mostly because it's a genre that I only dabble in from time to time. So, like, for me, I'm way more into the, fancy suits and gimmicks and whatnot side of things. But that doesn't mean this didn't incorporate all of that swimmingly, because I think it does.
Yeah, I had several thoughts watching the movie. There were
all of them bad. All right, let's get started.
No,
what you got?
No. I really enjoyed it.
Lay it down for me.
How much don't did you hate it? 10%. It was
no, that's actually good though. For you,
that's good.
10% hating for you means that you were actually invested enough to hate it, which I know sounds weird, but that actually does mean something. And
it does.
By the way, let's all take a minute to realize that does mean something for yourselves as well. And then like 10% is kind of low. Now that'll inflate to 20.
It's
by the time you're done typically, but that's really good starting bounds.
Yeah, it's like as a casual fan.
These are high marks for you.
How you would say, look, The Shining is a classic. The film, The Shining by Stanley Kubrick, is a classic.
Yep.
If you're a fan of the book, it's a bit shit. But
I get it.
Looking at it as a direct adaptation or as a, very close adaptation of the original comic, there are very specific things in the comic that were just like, you just should have done that. And like for instance, like beginning the movie off, like, and I'm torn because I really loved in the movie, like it got me into the movie, watching the opening credits be like the initial murder on Halloween, basically, and like kind of showing the backstory with like the Tim Sale art coming up.
Yeah.
Like that was really cool.
I love the little jack-o'-lantern.
I did. And
all the little totems of the holidays were fun.
They were, yes.
Now, bearing in mind, I need to put a disclaimer in.
Sure.
It's been like 15 years since I've actually read this book. Like 10 to 15, somewhere in there. So you're going to remember it better. I'm mostly going to be like wondering what your thoughts are on the comparison, whereas I'm mostly going to be talking about the story that I just watched.
Right. Well, I mean, it just lacks a little of the depth because like they had like the cool like opening credits that I loved, but in the comic they kind of like they showed some more nuanced interactions between Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle and the Falcone family. I guess we're calling him Falcone this time because the movie did. Gordon and
made a point
all that shit. Yeah. We saw a bit more about in the comic leading up to the murders. So we got a bit of a rich foundation in the comic. We didn't have so much in the film. Now I understand that they were trying to truncate it so it wouldn't be 3.5 hours long.
Oh yeah, you've got to make a thread here.
But they did go out of their way to be like extra special artsy during certain scene transitions. Like I don't need to see the mobster like walk into his house and survey the living room and then walk into the bathroom and sink into the tub. There were certain things where I'm like, this is taking very long to do. Like they were taking their time with it.
At the same time, in the first like 5 minutes or so of the movie, I feel you, but I don't know. It made me invest more a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's a fine line. It was
slow pacing, but shit was actually happening.
It was very slow paced at times, and at times I was like, yeah, I wanted to have room to breathe, but I also kind of just went, maybe just make it 15 minutes longer and show me the actual opening from the comic, because that really did help. But it's a minor gripe.
I don't know. In the first 5 for me, like I already loved the animation choices.
Mm-hmm.
I already liked the pacing more than I have a lot of these movies, because it's like since the 2000s, it feels like the animation in DC has been slower in whatever capacity I mean that. I'm sure you can interpret better than I can say it. But like this one felt like it was taking some more chances than I'm used to.
And I appreciate
and very much told me
too.
This is going to be an adult movie when I got into it. And I did dig that.
Yeah. I mean, I was still shocked when at the end when Falcone's like, just pull the fucking trigger. I was like, ooh, he said a bad word.
It's funny. I was so into this movie by the end that that didn't even register to me that they actually pulled out fucking.
Yeah. Yeah. But the murders are pretty grisly.
They are. His sister was the one where I like wanted to pause it and just, damn, man, that looks like fucking Black Dahlia recreation. I mean, I know she's in One Piece. I do know my true crime lore a little bit.
So I do want to say that there are things that I thought the film did better than the comic. Because in the comic, there was no dilemma about burning Falcone's money.
That's funny. I like that, though.
Like, I liked that they brought up Harvey Dent being like, I don't know, this is a moral dilemma. And then Batman gives him the freaking 2-headed coin. And I liked it. I don't remember them doing, and it's been a while since I've read Long Halloween for real, but I don't remember the whole bit where young Falcone gives Bruce the double-headed coin in the first place.
Yeah, that's been long since gone from my memory in the lore on that. I like it, though.
I did really like that. I love that it's Batman who gives him the double-headed coin.
Yeah. Unscratched, mind you.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked that quite a bit.
Well, but in that same scene, that was where you get that call back to the, criminals are superstitious. Sometimes they just need a nod, all that.
Yeah.
Two heads are always better than one, which is repeated throughout the movie, that line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that coin alone carries a lot of weight in this movie, and I dug the shit out of that. Because let's face it, this is more of a Two-Face movie than it is a Batman in a lot of ways. Like,
yes.
It feels like Two-Face's origin in a way that nothing else really does to me.
Yeah, and I think, well, I'm always going to prefer the Batman animated series version.
Oh, sure.
Of Two-Face origin.
Of course.
Grace.
But that was a high octane, in terms of runtime, very digestible version of that told a really good version of the story. For fleshing it out like this was pretty fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I really loved the whole thing between young Falcone and Bruce that wrapped up in the end, where like as a kid, Falcone tells him, "You only get what you take,"
and
then he's like, "You give what you take." And he's like, "You believe that?" And he's like, "Yes." That it's like, oh my god!
Oh yeah,
he knows who Bruce is.
Yeah, all we get is all we take.
Yeah,
from the Roman. That struck me several times during the movie. It's like, man, if in the course of this story, if Bruce knows, or if you know who Bruce is, it's like a death sentence for the story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's only a couple people by the end that are going to be able to remember that. Everybody else, you're going to be written out before the end.
Yeah,
probably without a pulse.
But that's one of the things I like about it, because it insinuates that the Roman has always known who Batman is, but he has a respect, and he.
Well, I wonder how much that plays into like him saying that we always leave the wives out of things.
We always leave the wives out of things, but then he also brought up, if you'll recall,
but
in the movie
outside
here,
the rules and all that kind of crap.
During the banquet or whatever, the fundraiser or whatever it was, he says, "The son I never had, Bruce Wayne."
Yeah,
it's like he sees him as family, and he
says as much.
Honestly, apparently does, because he knows he's Batman.
Well, in that speech where he gives him the coin, I think part of that is we're family now or something. Which, fair enough. Your dad just saved me from 5 chest wounds. I'm paying for that dude's college at this point. Like, we're tight. It does make you wonder though. Like later, there's one scene. You remember when he's got a gun pulled on Batman on the rooftop?
Mm-hmm.
The same thing with the that last speech there, where like Catwoman basically like pops in and knocks him on his ass a little bit.
Yeah,
and he says like that wasn't necessary. And I kind of got that in the animation of the scene, because the animation on this, all credit where it's due. They do a wonderful job throughout this entire movie of giving you the nuances of like character thoughts and all these little micro expressions that mean a lot, and the nonverbal language were just incredibly well acted animation.
Yeah.
And in that case, when he says like that wasn't necessary, I felt that. I didn't feel like that guy was actually going to pull the trigger.
Yeah, it didn't feel like one of those things where Batman was just like,
or that he wouldn't.
I got this.
Yeah, or that he wouldn't have like some plan to deflect, or just knew what part of armor he was probably going to hit or whatever it was. But yeah, it does make you wonder in retrospect how much he knew he was pointing the gun at Bruce and was probably never going to pull that trigger.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lot of fun to like go back through the story and the timeline.
Yeah,
they give you a lot to chew on.
So like one of my, I knew going in that this was going to be one of my issues with the movie. I just knew, because it's so hard. It's so hard to do in film. I think they did an okay job of it. The time jumps at times were very, like, I didn't even realize they had happened. And I was like, wait, it was Halloween. Why are you talking about it's Thanksgiving?
I know.
Like, they actually, like, at some point in the movie, they were, like, just showing the calendar days moving because Bruce was under Ivy's spell.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, thank God. Now I know that time is moving.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just because I'm not very observant sometimes, but
I mean, there would be.
I'm also ADHD and I'm very easily distracted.
Yeah. I glanced away for half a second. I mean, I think there'd be like those little totems, like I said, or, maybe the some orange in the background indicating fall or whatever. But I mean, I think it starts at Halloween, so you basically have to kind of describe your city to even tell me if there's a big difference in the weather.
Yeah. So one of my issues with the film, the Thanksgiving chase that leads to Chinatown, where he faces off against the Chinese assassins, total deviation from the book. I don't understand how Falcone or how he has all these connections with the Chinese mob, and the whole thing was weird because in the comic, Batman, the chase leads to Batman in the sewers and fighting Solomon Grundy, and he breaks Grundy's nose, and that's what makes the Thanksgiving Day dinner a little more sentimental. It's like he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, buddy."
That's a good point. I forgot there was kind of a precursor, and in his own way, that's like an apology meal.
And also just kind of being like, you're alone on Thanksgiving. I'm sorry, buddy. Like everybody needs a little family.
I know, but that was something I noted was like, I've always remembered that scene. And at times I've misplaced where I remembered it from, like what book it was even in.
Sure.
But I've always remembered that moment where he does exactly what you just said. Like, no one should be alone all the time. Just a simple gesture. Here's a plate of food that I didn't even make.
Which also would work well with Selena constantly popping up to help him, and he's like, I work alone.
Yeah.
Like, but you don't need to.
Yeah. You work alone till you get your ass kicked, buddy.
Yeah.
Which, another fine point. There's a huge chunk of this year. The year, what is it, year and slight change covered in the story when you all together.
Yeah. Slight change.
Huge chunk of it where Bruce is literally out of his goddamn mind. Like, just completely bamboozled. And that's a bit jarring to actually go back and revisit. That, like, yeah, the year 2 version kind of thing is just... There's a version of this where I think Gordon kind of alludes to it early on, where he says, like, man, you're great in a fight, but you're a terrible detective. Like, yeah,
he has that whole
so
speech with Alfred.
Work. Yeah.
He's like, I never thought I'd have to be a detective.
Yeah.
Why?
I didn't have to use my brain. I just trained my body this long. Yeah, bro. Go learn chemistry. Let's get started.
Yeah. I don't care for that. And I don't remember that being in the comic. It may have been. And if it is, boo.
It probably is. I mean, I say it probably is because it was such a theme in this movie that surely it's a device in the book as well. But, I mean, I love the idea that he has to, learn that he has to do that. But I think what you're getting at is probably earlier than this would be ideal.
Yeah. Well, if we considered it to be in the same canon as year 1, I think he's already been a detective for quite a while.
Yeah.
He's already had to be pretty mentally nimble.
He has. And credit where it's due, he's doing really well for like working outside of the system.
Yeah.
I think he just, in my head, it's almost like maybe headcanon a little bit. It's like he hasn't figured out just how deep he has to go with that.
What did you think of the misdirect on Alberto?
I remember liking that in the book as well. That was one of the things that I like.
Well, Alberto was one of the holiday killers in the book.
Well, but that was my point. I actually should have asked you about that one just to see if it was multiples. But the thing I do remember from the book was that it was just misleads the entire time. And I remember liking that about this one.
Yeah. In the book, he fakes his own death, basically.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't remember.
And then it turns out he was the holiday killer. But so was Gilda.
Oh, that's good too. Oh, well, I mean, for sure, in this movie, he dead.
Yeah, but they also did an interesting thing where, like,
I just loved how much they killed him. Let's shoot him 18 times, and then throw him through a cruise propeller.
Yeah, and they didn't really have to do all that because as soon as Selena dumbly yelled "Bruce," I was just like, "Oh, he did.
He gone."
These adaptations always mess with something to like subvert our expectations. So I was like, "Oh yeah, no, he's not coming back from that."
That's good. So is that? I didn't remember that part. I thought it all ended with that final reveal in the book, but is it that there were several the whole time?
In the book, Gilda was the second holiday killer, and she was doing it because she just wanted this damn thing to end, and she wanted to be closer to Harvey, if I remember correctly.
So in this version, she's the one that's driving the revenge, but
in this version, she had like a whole backstory with Alberto, where she was like married and pregnant with his kid, and they forced her to get an abortion through horrific means, and rendered her infertile.
Yeah,
and I do like that. I do think that gives her more than the comic did.
It does have.
It has some bite. It gives her more than the comic ever did. At the same time, what I don't like is that Batman figures it out. Because in the comic, I think it's just got like a thought bubble, like her thinking as she's like destroying the evidence. And she's like, I believe in Harvey Dent. And that was always cool, but Batman didn't know in the comic.
Well, so that's also striking. The fact that he does know, he does figure it out. He almost leaves it as like you did what you did, but you had your reasons, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a lot of stuff that reminds you of the Nolan run, where like it was let's blame it all on Harvey, and that was the guy we're going to sacrifice to this cause, and a lot of similar things there.
Yeah,
but it is very striking that like Batman does know, and he does leave it alone.
I do like that. Like, I didn't pay attention to it at all online, and when I watched the movie, I was just like, okay, I need to go check out, see what some people said about this. And there was a very it's small because it was an animated movie, but there was a group of people who very clearly didn't like the fact that Batman just let her go. And I'm like, I think I like it though. Because it's like, after like this woman sits here and tells you all the horrible fucked up shit the Falcones
what
did to her.
Actually happened to her before she made that. Yeah.
Like, I'd be like, okay, so it's done, right? Yeah, it's finished. Oh, cool. Have a good life.
Yeah, he doesn't even...
My God, I'm so sorry.
He doesn't even say like, I don't know. That's about the only way I could have dealt with it under the circumstances they left it. Like, I get some of the outrage. Like, no, he's supposed to be blind justice and some versions of events like that, but really not.
He's not. He's Bruce. He's Batman. He's still got empathy.
Yeah, and that was his friend, and they made that promise, and I like that whole line about like, as he's like, arrest me, Jimbo, I've got to face justice. And even Two-Face at this point, I guess we'll call him, points out like what he's asking is, did the good guys win, Harvey or Jim or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think Jim says like, the good guys won, but it's going to take a long time before we know if it was worth it. It seemed like a really good line to kind of end the tone of this whole movie on. And then to follow it with that little kind of epilogue by the furnace, it seemed right. As a story, this one plays really well.
Yeah, and the whole time, like, it was still messing with my expectations because as he was like, arrest me, Jimbo, I was like, are they actually going to let him be the fall guy? Is he it? Are they saying that he's Holiday, period? Or are they going to go back to Gilda?
Yeah.
I halfway expected, with the opening the way they did, at least in the first 15 to 20 minutes, I expected it to be Barbara, Jim's wife.
Yeah.
Because they gave them a little more up front than they did in the comic. And in the comic, like, Barbara was a baby. So, like, they gave them a little more. And I think it gave a little more weight to Jim's home life, but they didn't ever really go back to it, which I thought was kind of a...
That one line did crush me, though. Like... that Halloween moment where like he gets the call and he's got to go, and like, there's a lot of people counting on him. I was counting on him too. There's a part of that just crushes you if you actually have a little girl. Like, man, what is he supposed to do right then? Shit.
And I remember at that very moment rolling my eyes and going, it's going to get Jason.
Yeah, because that sucks.
Jason's going to remind the listeners that he's a dad of a little girl.
Yeah. It's not a redhead, which made me not cry. That's fine. She's a redhead. She'll be a redhead one day. Let's give it time. And then I'll watch this again and really get fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
God help me. What if I watch Over the Edge later?
I hate that Jason has emotions about his family. Ugh.
It's disgusting.
I am just kidding.
I genuinely probably didn't have any change in feelings until like a couple of years ago. I think as she's gotten older, I have more fatherly, like, oh, damn it, that would suck kind of feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first couple of years, it was like owning a lizard. Okay, whatever.
Jesus. All right, well, let's move on.
Well, I got everything I wanted out of you.
I thought I had the ground, on being a dick about a kid. And then you just came in and you just like swept the legs.
You want to be callous? Come on, bring it.
You didn't even give me a chance to do the crane kick.
No.
Jesus Christ. All right.
Straight ball to the head.
I didn't care.
Yourself.
I can. I didn't care for Sophia Falcone's diminished role in the film.
Okay, that was the other thing I really wanted to ask you about.
Mm-hmm.
She felt cheated.
Yeah,
like
she was.
Her role gets like pinned down to like the papa story.
Papa. Yeah, and with the whole Barbara being a little older thing, they could have really had some nice father-daughter themes, especially with Selena, since they decided to bring in the Selena the Roman thing, as Roman is her father and that realization and shit, but which she already knew apparently.
Yeah, I mean that would have killed me if they left Selena's actual familial role out of this. And don't get me wrong, they give Sophia some points, and to me she is a major plot device, but it feels like they made her a plot device and just sort of wasted a lot of potential there.
She did, and I missed her. I missed the April 1st Riddler thing with her.
So I just remember this scene. I wish I could find it. I'll find it again somewhere. It's just this scene with Riddler, who is a little bit lacking in this movie.
Completely lacking. He's not there.
Just a little bit, yes. And the I think I brought this up with you before many times. Is like the animation or the actual drawing in the book always has him look like a wacky waving arm flailing two-man guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. Like, he's getting shot at, and it looks so rubbery, and I loved it, and I was kind of hoping to see that in live action or animation.
Yeah. I know they were trying to, like, hit the Tomorrowverse style in this movie, and it is a gorgeous movie, but man, do I wish they had animated it to be more like Long Halloween for real.
There are genuine nods. I mean, I think Joker looked real similar to what I remember, at least.
Not for me, because Tim Sale basically just drew Joker like his face was just a series of bones with a smile. Like it was so tiny but like elongated and cartoonish. 90% of his face was teeth.
Yeah, that's probably more accurate.
But I was very happy to hear Troy Baker basically doing Hamill.
It was
because I've always read that book with Hamill in mind.
Troy Baker definitely is the one who carries that torch now. And it's the kind of movie where, like, if you heard his, like, the voice acting here and you know anything about it, you're like, that's either Hamill or Baker. One of the two for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's not. I know when it's not Hamill. But I actually had to pause it.
Baker does the best Hamill impression, though, barring anything I've ever heard.
He's very close. And I had to pause it because I was laughing so hard when he's like, "Is this the face of a killer?" And he looks in the mirror and goes, "Ugh, I guess it is."
There's a bit about, like, only room for one homicidal maniac in this town that's, like, some very classic Joker kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That made me laugh. Oh, my favorite at the end. By the way, the finale there were Batman and Bats and Cats. pop up in things and start fucking people up. That was great.
Mm-hmm.
They've learned a lot, kind of in their time about how to use people against each other more than just trying to take the force of it. And I liked the action of it. But my favorite was like Joker on the desk for a second, grabbing the knife. What does he say? Like, Nancy, hold my calls. I have to terminate someone.
Yeah.
One, such a Joker line, such a classic, wonderful Joker line. But also, man, I really enjoyed his knife work in that animation right then.
Yeah.
That looked fantastic.
Yeah, it did.
And also, of course, because the math works. Of course, Ivy's like the big swinging dick of this entire crew.
A little bit.
She is deeply powerful. Sometimes people forget that when they write her. I like this book has some respect for it.
Yes, I feel like the book had a little more respect for it than the film did. But, like, the Poison Ivy's control over Bruce kind of lacks build-up. Like, I feel like I needed to see more of what all she was doing that might bring Catwoman's intervention.
I mean, maybe. I mean, Catwoman just kind of Deus Ex style just appears when she's needed here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just leaps over, the 10th story of something.
Like, girl, like, okay, so to me, if you know who Poison Ivy is, and Bruce is showing up with Ivy on his arm, as you said he is, and being all flashy about this shit, I feel like if you're Catwoman, you're going to stop that shit before 3 months. She did say Ivy's made it tough. I don't know how Ivy's made it tough. And I don't know how Ivy missed it here to where Catwoman could just like bust up in his crib and shit. Whatever.
I think
that part was a little weak to me.
I think in my version, I assumed right then that it was just that she had basically, mind fucked everybody.
She was just a little distracted. She was going too hard.
Well,
maybe.
Like my version of Ivy is like, no, it doesn't necessarily need more build up because like it's the first time Bruce has been like truly mind fucked like that. He doesn't have like granted, historically with Bruce, he's gotten more training by now in the mental ways. But yeah, like right now he doesn't have that meditative state where he can resist her charms and all that. And was it like Nanda Parbat or something he hasn't gone to probably. But there's also like she can do that to anybody just at will. So
yeah,
like she could create some giant insular space where you can't get to Bruce that has, a couple hundred people between her and Catwoman if she wanted to. I could get that she could make it hard for a few months.
Also, depending on Ivy's power set, depending on who's writing her, she kind of at some point taps out on how much she can control at any given time.
True.
And we saw that here when she like starts to fight Selena, she loses her grasp on Bruce.
Yeah.
I did really want to see, more of what Ivy meant to Bruce. Like, even though, yes, it's Poison Ivy, and he has that realization, I wanted to see, like, damn it, I thought I was finally happy.
You wanted to miss her a little bit?
Yeah.
Miss being happy?
Yeah, at the very least, miss being happy. But, they ain't got time for it, man. It's a 3-hour movie.
I get it. And yeah, but to keep to their themes for the movie, there's an underlying thing where no matter what happens, Bruce is always just that kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like later, how many innocent lives were taken? 2 that I know of. Like,
yeah. How many innocent lives did Thomas Wayne trade? Yeah.
Like
2 as far as I know.
He doesn't lose track of that anywhere in this movie, that he is still that boy.
Mm-hmm.
I respect that. Oh, speaking of. Oh, all right. The point I wanted to ask you about that, I don't know if you'll be able to compare it. Probably the most vulnerable scene I've ever seen in a Batman, animated or otherwise, as long as it was, on screen, not a book, is him showing up after Scarecrow fucks him. Like, where is she, Alfred? Alfred, where is my mother? All that.
Mm-hmm.
That is the most vulnerable Bruce I've ever actually seen portrayed in anything that was moving.
Even more vulnerable than, why'd you say Martha?
Yeah, very much. Very much more vulnerable than that. Yes, decaled in the rain on the steps of his childhood home, rather than with his slightly beaten armor while he was defeating a walking god. Yeah, I think I'm going with the former. Between the two. It was striking though. I loved that scene.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it. I actually did.
And like going in between a bunch of like the, female figures in his life, not quite knowing who's what and where. I also really liked the Scarecrow animation in general, not just Scarecrow's actual character design. Those were fucking great.
Yeah.
Loved him gallivanting around town with a horse and carriage, just doing crimes.
By the way, I kind of just did not dig Mad Hatter here.
Even though it was Bender?
Yeah, I don't care.
I know. Normally that would make me really like something, but yeah, I hate this Mad Hatter. Sorry, John DiMaggio. Getting to the voice cast that you wanted to talk about, which yes is top tier for the most part. Even that, yeah. John DiMaggio is top tier voice casting, no matter what happens during the course of it.
Yeah, so far I begrudgingly liked what Jensen Ackles was doing as Batman.
I love that it's begrudgingly.
Well, it's begrudgingly because it's Jensen Ackles.
He has done a really good job with DC animation in our history so far.
Yeah, part of it is long before any of these Twitter people or online fan groups or whatever were screaming about Jensen Ackles needs to play Batman in live action, long before any of that shit. Mm-hmm. Back when he was just a baby on Days of Our Lives. I used to watch him on Days of Our Lives.
I know you haven't finished the thought yet, and I forgot that he was even there, but I would like to think that he was literally an 8-month-old and you hated his ass.
I mean, he was like 20, but
he was 8 months old and I just hated his fucking face.
I didn't care for him. And then it was Days of Our Lives, so I was like, well, he's a really shitty character. Yeah, maybe it's just like one of those things where I'm supposed to hate him.
Well, it's a soap opera. You can't judge quality on that a lot.
And you can't.
Fast.
But then he was on Dark Angel, and once again, I felt like, God, you just fall flat for me sometimes. There's something about you I don't like. I don't know what it is, and I still don't. Because even now, watching him on The Boys, I'm like, this is a fantastic performance. This is exactly what this character needs to be. I don't like Jensen Ackles.
I love the idea that you watched his run on The Boys and went 100%, no notes. That was perfect. Get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah, I think it's your chickless thing. It's the chemical reaction. There's just something about him I don't like. I don't know what it is. I'm sure
Maybe.
I've heard he's a perfectly nice guy. I don't know anything about the guy personally.
I think I have heard at cons he's actually pretty nice.
If, I was in a gas station or something and Jensen Ackles walked in, I'd, politely nod.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I would know who he was, but I would also just, nod, because I don't do that shit. I don't go all crazy and shit when I see a celebrity. I don't give a shit.
Well, it'd be fun though, because in that same situation, you'd be at the register. He's right behind you, and for some reason your card stopped working, and he would just go, "I got you, man," and just not think twice about it, and just pay for your $5 worth of Cheetos and Diet Coke and send you on your way.
And full on Seinfeld mode, I would totally just go, Ackles!
How dare he? It's too nice. There's something wrong.
Yeah, there might even be a thing where there's something he does when he's acting that he doesn't do in real life, and if I saw him in real life, maybe I'd just be like, oh, he's not here now.
Even that version of the conversation, though, is, I think the thing that he's doing when he's acting versus real life is he's acting.
Yeah, but maybe there's just some little thing in there, I don't know.
Maybe
the
just
flaw.
the way he holds himself or
is.
something that's just pissing you off in some way that you can't define.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see it. I mean, it's possible. Just furrows his eyebrow a certain way.
I don't know, but it doesn't matter. He did a good job here. Unfair hatred notwithstanding.
Had to be set aside to give him some props for doing a decent Batman.
I can compartmentalize, you know. And you did too, because we both liked Chickless by the end of Gotham.
I made my peace.
I thought Harvey Dent was a little over the top. I thought the voice was a little too much, and sometimes his reactions were just too over the top. And then I realized it was Josh Duhamel, and went, "Oh, that makes sense."
I forget.
Yeah, yeah.
I know his face.
Sorry, Buddy Games.
I know his face.
I'm sorry,
don't really
Buddy
know much
Games.
else.
Buddy Games.
Mm-hmm.
A movie and then a terrible CBS reality show.
That all sounds right.
We already talked about Troy Baker. Fantastic.
Oh, this
he
is
does
funny.
Hamill, but with his own
I just
twist.
looked it up, and Jensen Ackles' IMDb photo is Soldier Boy.
Oh, I know. I'm looking at it.
All right. Sorry, carry on. My bad.
You know, I had forgotten about this, but Naya Rivera as Catwoman actually did a fantastic job. I know she was on Glee, and I know she passed away accidentally, I think, the last I heard.
Ooh, did she? I didn't catch any of that.
Yeah. She was the girl from Glee who was in the boat with her kid, and then they found the kid, but they couldn't find her.
Oh,
And then she had drowned, I think.
that's sad. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Did a fantastic job here, though. Like, I'm sad that I'll never hear her do Catwoman again, because she did a good job.
Yeah, it really was. Also, like many characters in this movie, Catwoman especially, gravity doesn't exist in this movie.
Mm-mm. And you know what? It does, but I liked the animation style enough, and I liked the way they animated it. It felt anime to me a lot of times, the action sequences.
Well, no, and that's where, as much as I've said that I hate it, like it did feel like the parts of anime that I feel like are more enticing to
Good.
me. Yeah. I'm not trying to throw the entire thing in the trash. It's never really hit me. So, yeah, I could see that. And I could see, parts of this being really good.
Mm-hmm. David Dastmalchian killed this Calendar Man.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Kept trying to pick out that voice the entire movie.
Oh, yeah. Dude.
He sounded like Matt Balmer for a second. And then at moments he sounded like Billy Crudup. Like I just kept going back to...
two actors I've never paid attention to enough to know what they sound like.
I get it, but they also just have like, I don't know, very clean, low voices in a way.
Okay. I mean, I believe you. I'm going to pay attention to them next time because you have gone out of your way to mention it. Mm. So now I'll be like, what did Jason hear?
Yeah. They just sound like middle-aged, attractive white dudes. Yeah, just listen for that next time. It won't be confusing at all.
It's funny. I just saw this Asian guy on TikTok say, "Hey, look, I'm going to be an American," and he pulls his eyes open to be round, and he says, "I'm going to get a credit card." Does this come in gluten-free? And you saying that reminded me of that.
Not saying it doesn't make some sense.
Alistair Duncan killed Alfred Pennyworth in a way that I didn't think I was going to get since Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. from the Batman animated series. He sounded like the Batman animated series Alfred.
Yeah, it was seamless. Seamless and beautiful. I mean, unless you're doing the MI5 Pertwee version or something, you don't necessarily have to have anything other than the like very crisp, British, pristine, well-trained voice. Like that'll do. That'll do for Alfred. Mm-hmm. All day, every day. And let's be honest though, if that version wants to kick some ass every once in a while, I'm good with it.
Yeah. Titus Welliver is always really good. He was great as Carmine Falcone. Yeah. Loved what he did. Jack Quaid is always great. Mm-hmm. And another boys actor. Mm-hmm. He does a great job as Brad Boimler on Star Trek Lower Decks.
Oh, I'm sure.
Completely different kind of character, and completely different than this character, Alberto Falcone. Did such a good job. I think the best person on the cast, though, was Julie Nathanson playing Gilda.
I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, she did an incredible job.
I feel
like she's only actually on screen like 7 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, but this Julie Nathanson just really knocked it out of the park. Like, she was fragile, and she was angry, and
you could feel her smoking that cigarette.
You could. I don't know if she was responsible for those sucking sounds and the burning of the. Probably not.
No, but they did a really good job with some of those fine points like that. I mean, like one of the points in the movie that I was super impressed with, like when I say the acting was good for the animation, the people actually drawing it were beautiful. Like Two-Face alone, when like that one line where it's like you found him in the basement, that's the whole movie. We got it. Mm-hmm. That's the moment. We that was the reveal. They do it with like a 1/8 inch eyebrow raise on somebody who already has a stilted face.
Yeah. And it was kind of crazy to me, and it always kills me when this kind of stuff happens, but like the cast was so good, and most of the directing on the voice acting was so good. But there's like one scene early on in the movie where the mobsters are all sitting around the Roman, and one guy like stands up and he's like, "They're killing us for Jesus Christ's sake," or something like that. And it was just like, what? That is never how anyone says that. Who let that guy said this?
For fats, like, balls, and Christ. Like what?
Yeah. It was like, the one guy
that sentence doesn't exist and the accent doesn't exist. What happened?
I mean, the accent was fine. It was just like, nobody says like, he's killing us for Christ's sake. Like, he's killing us for Christ's sake. That's how you say it. That's like, it was, it reminded me of Will Ferrell's SNL audition, which you can find on YouTube. It's fantastic. It's phenomenal.
Wait a minute, I have watched it though.
When he's doing Harry Carey, and he's like, but he's Harry Carey auditioning for a play, and he's looking at the script and he goes, I hate you, sweet Jesus. And they're like, no. I hate you, sweet Jesus. I hate you, sweet Jesus. That's what it reminds me of. It's like, also when my dad tries to curse.
Oh, which is funny. Your mom is fluent.
Yeah, she is. My dad can do it when he's talking about having a shit.
Yeah, okay. I mean, he's got his context. Like your mom and I, though, could be in the company of mobsters, and our language wouldn't change in any capacity as far as that goes. They would. She would teach them some Southern phrases. I don't know,
right?
But like our cursing would just move right along with the flow, full viscosity. I didn't know your dad was behind on that. I always imagined him keeping up in that capacity.
He actually gets a little upset with us because when he tries to curse, we make fun of him.
All right, now that actually does fit though, because a lot of my conversations that I've imagined with your parents in my head involve your dad storming off at the end. So
yeah.
So far that part tracks.
Yeah, a lot of times.
But I guess in my head, I think it's like I've always imagined him going like, "Damn it, y'all!" and hitting like the armchair. And
oh no!
Standing up and running out.
No. He speechifies a lot more than that. He doesn't curse that often, for real.
That is funny. I don't know why I've always imagined it that way.
He's really bad at it.
I mean, I have met him. I don't think I remember him like coming off as crass as I am, for sure.
No. He recoils at our crassness.
Most would.
Mine and my mom's.
Most would. I mean, I do every time somebody like in my life learns that I have a podcast and we talk about it and they get interested for a second. It's always like, okay, yeah, I mean, please go listen. Without the kiddos, though.
Mm-hmm.
You just do an episode first without the kiddos and make sure that's all good with you.
And also without most adults.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to do it a lot. But there's probably going to be one time an episode that Dave just says something weird. Dirty and weird.
Yeah.
And you're not going to know what to do with it.
I mean, I often just roll with you, but...
Well, yeah. That's why we're friends.
And it's not so much that I've gotten used to it. It's that I've always appreciated it.
Yeah.
If anything, it was a draw for me.
Yeah. You didn't run away and you pursued a friendship.
Like every once in a while,
Yeah,
this
okay.
guy just says something so fucked up that I have to stop and see if I can find something worse.
No, and I feel that way about you as iron sharpening iron.
Yeah, it's fun.
I think that was the Bible I just quoted. Anyway.
One day we'll just defend each other to the grave.
Oh, God. Probably.
Only a matter of time, I suppose, as the comedian put it.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything else on this movie. I wanted to like the music more, but I don't remember a note of it.
Oh, no. If anything, I remember remembering that there was far less music than I think I was expecting. Like, I think they cut some of the budget on just scoring a lot of it. Genuinely. It seemed like there was just minimal score. Not that it was bad when it was there or missing when it wasn't. I don't think that's a deterrent for me watching the film, but it was quiet.
Yeah, and part of that kind of really lends to it, honestly. Like, just letting the noise of a city, like a piece of paper blowing down the street, let that be your soundtrack. Like, that's more eerie than anything they could do with music in some ways.
I mean, it genuinely is. Like in our part of town, if you actually walk down a part of town in the middle of the night, there aren't people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't live in, a city that never sleeps. We live in a city that sleeps regularly.
Yeah.
Even on the weekends. And,
Mm-hmm.
what you hear is some wind rushing and all that. And yeah, some papers and leaves and all that. But yeah, you don't hear.
Yeah. Like if you hear a piece of paper or, like a plastic bag or something skittering in the middle of the night when you're out here, you better double check because it's more likely a crackhead.
Yeah. That's very possible. I mean, it changes. So in what we would call the city or suburbs, like at this point, when I was jogging downtown in the, downtown Birmingham, if I heard a noise I shouldn't have heard, then that might be a person and they might have ill intent, but typically that wasn't even close to a thing I should be worried about. Statistically, I was fine. I always was.
Mm.
And I used to go jogging at like 2 a.m. I was pushing the boundaries here, but like, it's fine. It's not that dangerous in certain areas if you do it, if you run certain routes. But like, if you hear something, your immediate thought down there is like, oh my God, somebody. Whereas now, living outside of Birmingham in the suburbs, if I'm running, could be a bear. It could be a bear. We have mountain lions, coyotes, if you want to call them that. I don't. I like coyotes.
I actually like coyotes.
It makes me laugh a little bit, but
I also like coyote.
What the fuck is that?
I don't
Who
know.
did
What? Me?
I was about to say, please don't tell me you heard that in real life.
No. I just like it. It's a coyote. It sounds. I can't not do George Takei when I say it. I'm like coyote.
Yeah, but it sounds like
Mumbai.
It sounds like an appetizer. Like, would you like quiote or biscotti before your cappuccino?
Yeah, I don't know. I like it though.
I'm not that mad about it. Only a little bit mad about it.
All right. Let's see. What do we have next? So next episode we're gonna do news.
Yep.
We've got a Joker trailer that we need to get to.
Yep.
As well as I'm sure other things that I've just not paid at all any attention to because I'm tired.
You've been basically sick for 2 weeks.
Yes, I've had some issues with my back and my stomach.
Which are related in this case.
I think, yes, they are related. I stepped off of a curb weird. It's something that happens when you're 40. Like, you step off of a curb weird and you pull, like, every damn muscle from your sternum to your dick. And then you're nauseous and fluttery for, like, 3 weeks.
Which sounds terrible.
And it's all linked to your back. So, like, I don't know, man. Like, I've just been sick.
I would like to remind everyone that Dave is not just a, sentient piece of driftwood that can be harmed in high wind. He is 40, but he's also a little bit tall and has had major back damage since 12.
Phrases like that are also why we're friends. I'm going to try to remember that. What did you say? A sentient piece of human driftwood?
Something like that, yeah.
Jesus. All right, so the next episode next episode we're doing news. And then the episode after that, we will be covering Green Lantern, Beware My Power, which, man, I hate that it sounds so boring to me already.
No, I'm into it.
But we'll see. You're into everything. You like everything. You're excited about everything.
Well, until I don't like it.
Huh?
Until I don't like it.
Yeah, but it's so rare. It's so rare now.
Well, it's just that I like enjoying things, but I don't have to like live my life by it.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I know sounds crazy if you've been on the internet.
Yeah, no, I know, like, I usually come off as more negative than you do, but I generally like all this stuff pretty good. Like, for real. I mean, the only thing I've ever claimed to hate,
because like we have sat around and had like heated discussions about certain properties, and when I say that, I don't mean me and you talking at each other. I mean, we've had a couple moments where we're like, I hate this and this is why, and we go on about 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Knight Rises. But like, other than that,
like, there's very few times where we actually like completely agree to that level.
Yeah, certain things just let you down in a certain way.
Yeah, but even with that knowledge, I have like 9 Christian Bale Batman figures.
Yeah,
like, I don't like Nolan's take on the character. I have like 9 Christian Bales behind me right now.
Yeah. And I've
got Batmobiles.
And they're all sneaking up on you as we speak.
I've got the Bat. Like, it's still Batman.
Well, all right. Speaking of what I'm looking forward to, and 2 moments there. Long Halloween had a couple of like end moments there, like the kid in the little bat costume.
That was weird for me.
I don't know. That was cute as shit. It's the third time they did, the third time they visited the idea of Halloween, people come by for Halloween. And then somebody finally does, and they actually let this movie end with like a cute moment where Bruce gets to see that like his legacy might continue. And bear in mind, that's after Alfred already talked to him about like, your parents' true legacy was you. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a cool through line to actually have the little kid in the bat costume. I was very happy about that.
Yeah, I can see that.
But then look who shows up at the very end.
It's a good call. It's a good call. I was a little on that, but you turned it around for me, damn it.
No, we gave it some life.
What does that have to do with Beware My Power? I thought that's what we were talking about. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, that was my question.
I feel like I've lost my mind, lost track of things.
No. So the stinger to the movie.
Yeah.
I haven't looked it up. Where does this movie fit canon wise for like a lot of the other movies we're about to watch? Because, it's for you, sir. At the end, clearly some friends there. Mm-hmm. But I don't remember because like Long Halloween is technically kind of an Elseworlds tale.
No.
Really?
No, Batman Long Halloween is straight up canon.
Is it?
Yeah, mainstream canon. I mean, I don't know now that we're talking like New 52 and Rebirth and whatever the hell else they got going on. I don't know, but...
Oh, you're probably right. I was basing that mostly on, I thought Selina wasn't necessarily tied to that family, and I thought that was the big reveal there.
I don't think they did that in the comic version. I think they did it in... Like, Loeb and Tim Sale did other books. One of them was a Catwoman book. One of them, and of course they did Dark Victory, which was a direct sequel to Long Halloween. They did The Haunted Night, which was another sequel to it, it was a shorter story by those guys that tied in thematically. But yeah, I thought that they went into the Selina Falcone thing in Dark Victory, or maybe the Catwoman spinoff, or maybe I'm just remembering it wrong entirely. I don't know.
Yeah, that one really has been a minute. No, that could be true though.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know where exactly it falls we know this Batman by the time he gets to Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths, Part 1, he has some Bat family running around with him.
That will be a lot of fun too. This one in the series that we're kind of going back over, this was probably the most invigorated I've been by a movie that we've been watching so far.
This was definitely the best one in the line so far. In the Tomorrowverse.
Yeah. The Tomorrow 52.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious to see if they'll do Green Lantern any better than the previous DC universe did, or DC animated universe did, because most of those movies have not been good. Just being real.
I mean, they at least gave him Nathan Fillion for a couple of them.
That don't matter. Sometimes
no points given.
Can't help.
No points given, Dave says.
Well, I mean, I think, was he not? He was Green Lantern. He was Hal Jordan in Emerald Knights.
It was
wasn't he?
as far back as that, I think. Yeah.
And I seem to recall that, like, you and I sat there and watched it together in the house that we lived in, and we were just like, no.
Yeah.
No.
From my memory, we got to the end of that, and it was like, we looked at each other and we're like, so there were like, what, 4 minutes of that were pretty good?
Yes, and it was the Mogo story that was adapted from Alan Moore. Great only because it was adapted from Alan Moore.
Very directly from.
Almost exactly.
Without
line
derivation.
For line. Line for line. Yep. It was Alan Moore's work. Yeah, but like Emerald Knights was just, Nathan Fillion talking to Aricia, and they were talking about different, I think that was who it was, but yeah, he's just talking to a new Green Lantern about a bunch of Green Lantern shit that happened and telling us stories, little short stories.
Nice.
A fine concept, but a boring movie for the most part. And that first Green Lantern movie they did, God, I saw it, but I don't remember anything about it. It's hard for Green Lantern. He doesn't often get good stuff.
He doesn't.
They don't know what to do with him. All right.
I wonder if they're going to mention that in the third Deadpool when they talk about the other timelines. We're like, in this timeline, you just killed this actor for no good reason. I saved him.
Like, you know what? I'm just down for all of it. Like, just give me all the weird shit, the multiverse shit that you're gonna, I'm down. Just Deadpool 3 me. I've heard
that will be a fun
Henry
phrase
Cavill
in like
is gonna play Wolverine.
2 years to revisit Deadpool 3 me.
Yeah. I've heard Cavill is playing an alternate version of Wolverine in this thing. I don't know how true it is.
I don't know nor care. If I see it, that'll be fantastic. If I don't, I'll live. Both realities sound amazing, honestly. If I never saw that, never thought about it, I would be okay. If I do see it, that'll be cool.
Mm-hmm. I think we're going to call it, y'all. Jason's starting to get feisty.
You going to go catch up on X-Men 97?
I'm caught up, baby.
Oh, yeah?
Well, I am.
Feisty.
No, you know what? I am caught up because Michael Shackelford sent me a message and that just said, no. And I was like, what's today? What could he be talking about? Is he talking about somebody die? I looked around for a minute and was like,
it's Wednesday.
No, it's Wednesday. X-Men came out. Oh, no. What happened?
Some shit happened.
And I watched it. And I was like sitting there, tears streaming. And he was like, "Have you seen the new X-Men yet?" About halfway through the episode, and I finished the episode, and I just said, "Call me." So me and Michael talked for about 45 minutes about X-Men.
Yeah, I watched it. I forget what day it was. I watched it before my wife got home, and she came over. "Why are you glassy-eyed?" Because I'm still a kid. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because some shit went down, dude.
Yeah. X-Men 97 is kind of blowing it out of the park. It's just as campy, corny, and cheesy as the original was, but the pacing, by God, is modern, and the animation is modern, and it feels... You're going to roll your eyes at some of the dialogue if you haven't seen this thing yet. But you know what? it feels and sounds like the original series. I am loving it, and they are taking some big dick swings in this season, especially this last episode. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I hope it sticks, because steaks. But
well, and still the guy who's slightly in trouble right now for reasons I haven't even begun to look into. The guy who's running the show though this season said like episode 5 is just me getting started or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm. But, he was fired apparently for creative reasons, and we don't know what those are. And I've looked into it, and unless something happened in the last like day and a half, and I didn't notice it, like that's all we know.
Nah, that little pull quote that I avoided as fast as I could because I hadn't seen the episode yet. All I saw was I haven't gotten started yet, or whatever the hell he said.
Yeah. So I don't know. I hate that he's gone, but maybe I shouldn't be. I don't know.
I have no idea how to feel about that one.
Well, we don't know. We don't know anything.
Well, it's not
Nothing
DC on screen, so we didn't look into it.
I know. That's generally what I enjoy and don't have to talk about.
Them's the rules.
The rules. Oh, all right. Yeah. If you want to converse with us about anything, including X-Men 97, you can go to patreon.com/DC on screen. You can join for free, be a part of the community. You can pay $1 a month, get all of our episodes ad free, and then you can pay $5 a month and get all that plus extras whenever we feel like people enough to do a thing. Mm-hmm. Or you can just, write to us at dconscreen@gmail.com. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Threads. We're on Instagram. We are everywhere. You don't have an excuse to not pop in and say, hey, man. All I'm saying, we'd love for you to.
Oh, we're always here for it.
We might not respond.
But here for it.
But here for it. You probably made our day. We're both very ADHD.
Yeah. Yeah. The amount of notes for me just to do my actual job.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah. I actually have a fair amount of notes for this show when we're not, very directionally talking about what we have to talk about. I mean, and you guys know, you've heard us chase the squirrels. We've gone all over the place. But in unnoted conversation, Jason and I are just nothing but dolphining around.
Oh, yeah. It's like, tragic.
No idea what we're talking about. I walk out of there going, what the hell did that accomplish? It was fun.
Yeah.
Don't know what we accomplished.
Like, I would hate to be a third person in the room with us who had an agenda and a goal.
Or a scrap of sanity, which we've literally gotten people go, oh God, there are two of you.
Yeah. Poor bastards. Like, oh, dear God. Imagine a universe where we sold a show and had to hire a manager.
Yeah.
300 people would turn the job down before some absolute fucking idiot finally took it. Like the person who took that job in much the, what was it, like Groucho Marx style? Any club that would have me. I don't know
what you're going to say, so I can't say yes.
Any club that would have me, I wouldn't want to be a member of, kind of thing.
Oh, yes. That's my mantra. Yeah. Absolutely.
If anyone took the job of trying to wrangle us, they shan't be trusted.
Or very trusted.
No. They're full of lies. Lies and overpromises.
That might be what we need.
It'd be like the Magic Mike that fucked with the Beatles for a while.
All right. I'm done. Let's call it. Love you, buddy.
Love you.
And I love you, dear listener. Until next time.
Oh, he was talking to me on the listener part.
No. You were buddy.
They were the buddies. Okay.
No,
I'm the buddy.
You were buddy. You were buddy, their dear listener.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Either way, I like it.
Yeah. We're all friends. Yeah. I love all of you.
I'm good with it.
Until next time, keep some DC on your screen.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening to DC on Screen. Our theme song is by Jason Goss and Michael Shackelford of Galactic Engineers. The incidental music is by Michael Shackelford and Kevin MacLeod. You can rate the show on Spotify or rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Doing that really helps push our show to new listeners, so your help would be much appreciated. You can also contact the show at DC On Screen on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or email us at dconscreen@gmail.com. To become a patron and get ad-free episodes and exclusive content, go to patreon.com/DC on Screen. Your reviews and feedback may end up on a future episode of DC on Screen. DC on Screen is a production of Maladjusted.tv in association with Stranded Panda. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever damn platform you use.